Guys, it's Julie Spencer, author of the Buxton Peak series, and we are working our way through Buxton Peak Book 3, The End of the Beginning, and we are just starting into Chapter 8, and Chapter 8 is called Stupid Questions. The last time you took us to one of these temples, you left us for 2 years. That's not going to happen again, is it? Kai asked. Ian understood Kai's frustration. During Buxton Peak's second North American tour, the band had taken a detour to visit the historic temple in Kirtland, Ohio. While sitting in a pew alone, Ian had the distinct impression to set aside his music for 2 years and serve as a full-time missionary. The other guys in the band were furious. That was different, Ian said. You can't actually go into this one. Ian nodded in the direction of the Nashville Temple. They had to drive past the beautiful building on their way to pick up their tuxedos, and Ian asked Kai to pull into the parking lot and stop for a moment. I didn't go in the other one either, Kai said. Although the one in Kirtland was no longer owned by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or used in an official capacity, Ian had insisted the entourage take a detour so he could visit Ohio. But you could have. Ian pulled his thoughts back to the present and gazed at the comparably smaller building in front of him. The Nashville Temple was simple and elegant, but not as grand as some of the larger, more famous LDS temples. Why can't we go in this one? Kai followed Ian's example and studied the building's exterior. I can, Ian said. You can't. What makes you so special? Kai asked. Never mind. Stupid question. Everything about you is special. Why are you allowed to go in but not me? Ian was accustomed to Kai's offhand compliments, so this one didn't faze him. It was still humbling. Because I've taken the preparation classes that are required, Ian said. The things we learn in the temple are very sacred. You mean secret, Kai sneered. No, I mean sacred. You need to be prepared to learn the higher laws of the gospel. But you could get prepared if you wanted. In time for Ed and India's wedding tomorrow? Kai raised his eyebrows. No, not that quickly, Ian shook his head. Well, enlighten me, preacher boy. What does it take to get prepared? For starters, your body needs to be pure and clean, which means you'd have to give up alcohol. Ian bit his lower lip and took a sidelong glance at his best mate. Not happening. Kai shook his head and waved his hand dismissively. Next. You can't be living with your girlfriend, or having sex outside of marriage at all. Ah, so we're back to the discussion on purity again. Kai pushed Ian's shoulder playfully. You know darn well that's not happening. What else? You'd have to be baptized and become a member of the church. Among other things. You know, like a testimony that God exists. I'm an atheist, you know that. By choice, Ian mumbled. Yeah, so? So you could choose not to be an atheist, Ian said. Ian firmly believed the only way Kai was going to know God was real is if he chose to open his heart. After Kai's baby and girlfriend nearly died during childbirth, Ian felt the miracle of 2 priesthood blessings. He hoped Kai would have felt that as well. There had been plenty of opportunities for Kai to experience God's presence. Ian couldn't imagine looking down into a newborn baby's face and not see God's love lying right there in his arms. So anyway, it's a beautiful day in Nashville, and my best mate is about to go in and witness his bodyguard get hitched. Kai tried to change the subject to less serious topics. Hitched? Ian shook his head and chuckled. They are going to be sealed for time and all eternity. Yeah, well, I think it's time to go pick up our tuxedos and get ready for them to do this sealing thing. You know he's way more than a bodyguard to me, right? Ian whispered. I'm not jealous, Ian. Kai's defensive tone was not lost on Ian. The 2 of you have this weird spiritual connection that I will never understand. And you and I have a weird musical connection that he will never understand. Ian felt a kinship with Kai that was deeper than any other relationship in his life, second only to Megan. You know, you're a really great brother to all of us. Kai finally turned his attention directly to Ian. I never dreamed any of this could happen. When I first met you in music class back in primary school, and you knew how to play the piano better than the teacher, I thought you were very strange. But you didn't look at me like I was strange. Ian leaned against the opposite door and hooked his leg on the seat so he was facing Kai. You had this wonderment in your eyes that I didn't understand. Everyone else looked at me like there was something wrong with me, but you looked at me like you were in awe of my talent. I was, Kai acknowledged. I still am. Sometimes I feel so inadequate. Ian stared out the window. Like if the whole world knew how stupid I really am, they wouldn't think I was so great. Well, let's not let them find out. Kai turned back to the steering wheel and put the car back in drive. Because we need to keep you as the hottest rock star on the planet so we can pay for this Mercedes I just bought. Kai carefully backed out of his parking spot and tapped the accelerator. You drive like an old man, Ian huffed as Kai crept out of the parking lot at a turtle pace. This is an old man's car. At least I'm driving. When are you going to learn to drive? Kai kept both hands on the wheel. I don't need to drive. I snap my fingers and people take me where I want to go. Very funny, Kai said. Like you, driving me around in your old man's car. Ian pursed his lips together, trying to keep his haughty charade. The Mercedes Maybach is a fine luxury sedan. Kai smoothed the steering wheel with his hands. I'll say it again, it's an old man's car. It's safe, Kai said. I'm a dad now, remember? I gotta keep baby Sean wrapped in luxurious safety. Old man, Ian mumbled under his breath. I'll show you an old man. Kai floored the accelerator, proving that his new Maybach could go from 0 to 60 in 5 seconds. He didn't let off the gas and leapt forward as if the car wanted to fly off the road. Okay, you've proven your point, Ian cried out as his body was pressed against the seat from sheer force. Now slow down before you get us killed. Who's the old man now? Kai laughed, but let off the gas to bring the sedan to a more reasonable speed. They settled into a comfortable silence as they drove the last few miles to pick up the tuxedos. The Temple wedding was beautiful, Megan said. Ian held her in his arms on the dance floor, gazing down into her eyes. Almost as beautiful as ours. Ian reached up and ran the backs of his fingers down her jawline. Her upswept curls interwoven with tiny white flowers were so different than the way she usually chose a straight simplicity. He loved her natural look, but tonight he couldn't take his eyes off his wife. Do you ever wish we'd had a reception like this? Megan asked. No way. Ian leaned closer and to whisper in her ear. That would have taken too long. I just wanted to get you to the hotel. Ian Taylor, you're a bad boy. Megan smacked him lightly on the arm. You know what they say. Behind every bad boy, there's a bad girl. I've never heard that before. Megan shook her head with a playful grin. She bit her lower lip and her eyes sparkled. Ian wanted to pull her off the dance floor and take her home. Instead, he spun her around in a graceful dance and tried to keep his mind out of their bedroom and stay here in the ballroom. The reception was simple and understated, but extravagant. It also included a host of entourage who hadn't been together in over a year. All the other bodyguards for the band were in attendance, as were the producers, stage designers, tour managers, and even the bus drivers. Everyone loved Ed, and they were all happy to see him finally find true happiness with his beautiful and elegant supermodel giraffe, or so Ian called her during his toast. That drew endearing laughter and was the catalyst to an evening of dancing and partying. Although the reception was intended to celebrate Ed and India's marriage, it turned into a great opportunity to get the whole crew to Nashville. They were ready to get back to work. I know you're the best man, and I'm the matron of honor, but how much longer do we have to stay at the party? Megan pulled at both Ian's lapels and held him a few inches away from her face. Woman, are you a mind reader? Ian's heart raced, staring into those seductive hazel eyes. I'm a body language reader. I'll show you body language. Ian leaned in close and kissed Megan's neck a little more passionately than was acceptable in public. Patience, Mr. Taylor. We're supposed to be celebrating Ed and India's wedding right now. I'm quickly losing patience, Mrs. Taylor. Ian still hadn't pulled away and his breath was very close to Megan's ear. Let's go home and celebrate by ourselves. Do we have to? Megan's pouty lips and batting eyelashes confused Ian. I mean, we are standing in the ballroom, the main floor of one of Nashville's most luxurious hotels. Ian felt a growl in the back of his throat as the reality of her statement played into his mind. Without even saying goodbye to their friends, Ian swept his wife off the dance floor and into the lobby. He had the credit card out of his wallet faster than he realized possible and slapped it onto the counter. His eyes never left Megan's while Ian spoke to the desk clerk. Could my wife and I get a hotel room, please? That's the last of the stupid questions. That is the last of chapter 8. And next time we get into chapter 9, it is called Goodbye and Hello.